What's up, core reporters? Welcome back to my channel. I've actually got two David Eason stories to report to you. I just wanted to knock them out at the same time. So in a video that I just published earlier, we talked about Jenelle being granted the restraining order against David, right? So I want to issue a little correction. It was initially reported that the restraining order only extended to Jenelle herself, but in fact, it turns out that her children will be protected against David as well. So I just wanted to mention that straight off the bat. But let's get into something that Jenelle's lawyer told the U.S. Sun that I found to be rather interesting. According to Jenelle's lawyer, David tried to make a certain argument before the trial even began that I found to be rather alarming and rather representative of his very dangerous and unstable state of mind. So Jenelle's attorney told the U.S. Sun that David, quote, attempted to make a sovereign citizen argument before the trial even began. And so I don't know what that means. I know what sovereign means. I know what sovereign citizen can mean, but I wanted to verify what that means, like in the context of the law and what that might indicate about the defendant. And what I found out was rather alarming. So I went to ChatGPT, of course, and I asked, what does it mean when a defendant tries to make a sovereign citizen argument in a restraining order case against them? And the response I got was the following. In a restraining order case, a sovereign citizen argument is a legal defense based on a set of fringe beliefs that generally reject the authority of courts and governments. So basically the defense is, I am above the law. The law does not apply to me. And when we know the history of David Eason, the violence of David Eason, the ABUSC that David Eason has been perpetuating for years, the amount of weapons that David Eason has at his disposal, it is rather alarming to hear that he is of this ideology, that he could do whatever he wants because the law does not apply to him. So let's continue on to what they said. They said, here's what it means. Sovereign citizen ideology. Believers consider themselves, quote, sovereign individuals unbound by most laws and government institutions. They often challenge the court's legitimacy and its power to issue a restraining order. Arguments in court. They might claim the court lacks jurisdiction, the judge isn't a real judge, or the restraining order itself is an invalid document with no power over them. These arguments are not recognized by established law. So basically, these are delusional people who are just high off their own Kool-Aid or whatever, high off their own supply, who might claim that this is not a real judge. Do you know how crazy that is? Especially when for you guys in the US, you have these people who really are this nutty, right? Who have stormed the Capitol building and everything because they really believe in these like crazy things that have no basis in reality, right? So the idea that, and we already know that David, is a part of this kind of fringe, crazy extremist group, right? But the fact that he actually tried that in court is really, really scary. So basically, one of the things, let's go back, not basically, but literally, one of the arguments is that a restraining order is an invalid document with no power over him. What do you think that means for people who are victims of people like David, right? Like, what do you think that means for Jace? What do you think that means for Jenelle? And what do you think that can potentially mean for Ensley and Kaiser? That this violent, dangerous person is saying that the law does not apply to him, the judge has no jurisdiction over him, and that the restraining order is an invalid document that does not apply to him. And on top of that, when someone like this has a whole lot of firearms at their disposal, what do you think can potentially happen? This is crazy. This is the first glaring sign that something might happen here. I know the restraining order was granted and it's only valid for 6 months. What happens when after 6 months and 1 day, David collects his arms again and decides, you know what? Let's go. Or if he doesn't relinquish his arms, because according to him, the law does not apply to him. He is above the law. He is a, quote, sovereign citizen. It's interesting, right, that he's a sovereign citizen who is above the law. Meanwhile, he is using the law to squat on his estranged wife's boat because his broke, unemployed, refusing to work ass cannot get a place of his own, cannot afford a place of his own. Isn't that crazy? I think there should be a police escort to Jenelle's boat to make sure that every last weapon has been removed, and then to the swamp as well to make sure that everything has been removed, because David literally just said he's crazy. He's not denying anything that Jenelle accused him of in her restraining order filing, including running over the dog and ending its life in front of his child. He's not denying purposely ending Nugget's life. He's not denying ABUSING, the children. He's just saying that he is a sovereign citizen and the law does not apply to him. That is extremely disturbing. That is extremely alarming. Wow. So it's no surprise that the judge shot down the idea that David is above the law, he's a sovereign citizen, etc., etc. So let's talk about why. Typically, judges will strike down these claims because, number one, it's a waste of time. These arguments can slow down the court process and make it harder for the person seeking the restraining order to get the protection they need. And two, it is not a valid defense. Sovereign citizen arguments are not based on sound legal principles and are unlikely to succeed. These are the rantings and the musings of a mentally unstable individual, a dangerous individual, an armed individual. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. He is a lot worse than we could have ever even imagined, you guys. David is an extremist through and through. Now let's get into another order of protection or another case against David. So this was restraining order. Now let's talk about the criminal case against David. So David has a felony and a misdemeanor charge after an altercation in which he allegedly physically assaulted Barbara Evans' son, Jace Evans, who was just a small teenager, right? And so this led to the boy being removed from the home. Like there were just so many things that went down as a result of this and Jace's constant running away. And so David was finally charged for the alleged incident. And now we are finding out from the U.S. Sun that Jace will be testifying against him at in the court battle, and that he is actually looking forward to testifying against him. And I say, good for you, Jace. You know, I'm so proud that you have the strength to do this. I know that David and his mental instability and his, access to weapons and his size are terrifying to you, right? Especially as a teenage boy going up against a man pushing 40 years old. But the fact that you continue to run away until you were properly heard and properly cared for, and that he was removed from your presence, and that these charges were laid, like that shows how strong you are and how smart you are and how brave you are. He was running away into the woods, y'all. Like, this is a brave boy, So congratulations to him on that. A source told the U.S. Sun, and I quote, Jace is adamant about going to testify. He can't wait to take the stand. He hates David. Jace has also been in communication with the district attorney's office, and they are currently working with him to make sure that he is fully prepared to take the stand. And he is supposed to be testifying sometime this summer. So we're currently May, pushing June. So I would estimate that to be July, August. Well, when does summer start? I don't even need to estimate. I just need to know when summer starts. But yeah, it's going to be at some point in the summer. And as we know, David does not have the money to hire an attorney. I don't know if he's going to try to represent himself, similar to the way that he represented himself and failed as Jenelle was seeking a restraining order against him. I will keep you guys posted on how all of that stuff rolls out. As usual, we are going to be hoping and praying that justice is served for Jace and that David faces actual consequences for his actions. And I do hope that the restraining order that Jenelle was granted against him helps in some way in this case. So I will keep you guys posted as all of that goes down. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and let me know what you think about all of this in the comment section down below. And as usual, we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.